Earth stood before the Galactic Council for the last time. Ambassador Olivia Mason kept her head high, despite the cold stares from alien representatives filling the massive chamber. The room's curved walls glowed with soft blue light, highlighting the 12 council elders seated on their elevated platform. "The decision is final," announced High Elder Zextur, his 8 eyes blinking in sequence. "Earth is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." Whispers spread through the chamber. Some delegates showed shock, others nodded in satisfaction. Olivia gripped the podium tightly. "May I ask on what grounds?" she questioned, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Elder Null, the reptilian representative from Sirius Prime, leaned forward. "Humanity's unpredictable nature and aggressive tendencies pose a threat to galactic stability. Your species advances too quickly, without proper restraint." "This is about our new quantum drive technology, isn't it?" Olivia challenged. "Technology we offered to share with the Council." "Your assessment is incorrect, Ambassador," replied Elder Vesh, though her 6-fingered hand twitched nervously. "This decision reflects centuries of observation. Humans are simply incompatible with Council principles." Olivia looked across the chamber at the smaller delegations, newer Council members who avoided her gaze. The truth was obvious. Earth had become too influential, too innovative. The elder species feared losing their control. "You have 72 hours to withdraw all Earth representatives from Council space," High Elder Zextur continued. "Your trading permits are revoked. Your diplomatic status terminated." "And if we refuse these terms?" Olivia asked. The silence that followed was answer enough. Commander Eric Daniels received the transmission in the war room of Earth Defense Headquarters. The underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains hummed with activity as officers processed the unexpected news. "Replay that last part," Eric ordered, his gray eyes fixed on the screen. The holographic display showed Olivia's face, her expression grave. "They've given us 3 days to evacuate all personnel from Council territories. This isn't a negotiation, it's an ultimatum." Eric rubbed his jaw, feeling the stubble of a long shift. Assessment. Colonel Julia Bennett stepped forward. "Intelligence suggests the Council has been planning this for months. They'd been quietly repositioning fleets near our major colonies." "A show of force," Eric muttered. "More than that," Julia replied. "They've already begun detaining Earth ships in outer Council systems. We have reports of at least 3 research vessels impounded at Arcturus Station." The door slid open as General Howard entered. Everyone stood at attention. "At ease," the general said, walking directly to the central display. "I've just come from an emergency meeting with the President. We're initiating Protocol Omega." The room fell silent. Protocol Omega was the contingency plan no one wanted to use. Earth's response to catastrophic diplomatic failure. "Sir," Eric began, "Protocol Omega assumes hostile intent." "Which is exactly what we're facing, Commander." The general's voice was firm. "The Council didn't just expel us. They're moving to contain us. Our long-range scans show Council warships already entering the Sol system's outer boundary." Displays around the room updated with incoming data. Council vessels were indeed approaching. Not an invasion fleet, but enough to establish a blockade. "We have 72 hours to bring our people home," the general continued. "And then we're on our own." Julia's fingers flew across her tablet. "What about our colonies on Proxima and Europa? The settlements in the Tav Ceti system?" "Emergency evacuation orders are already transmitted," the general replied. "We're consolidating all forces to defend core human territories." Eric studied the tactical display, watching as red dots representing Council ships move closer to humanity's blue territories. "They think they're containing a threat," he said quietly. "They don't realize they're creating one." The general nodded grimly. "The President will address Earth and all colonies in 6 hours. From this moment, we operate under the assumption that the Council is not just expelling us, they're preparing to erase 300 years of human expansion." Outside, stars shone peacefully over a planet unaware that its galactic status had just fundamentally changed. By morning, everyone would know. Humanity stood alone. 10 years passed since Earth's expulsion from the Galactic Council. The planets and moons of the Sol system had transformed in ways few could have imagined. What outsiders saw as retreat, humanity experienced as rebirth. Director Samantha Powell stood at the observation window of Europa Station, watching robots construct massive ice tunnels below. Her reflection showed a woman in her 50s, her dark hair now streaked with gray, eyes still sharp with purpose. "Director, the Mars delegation has arrived," said her assistant through the comm. Samantha nodded. "I'll be right there." The journey to the conference room took her through corridors bustling with activity. Engineers debated schematics, scientists rushed between labs, and military personnel moved with disciplined purpose. Europa Station had started as a research outpost, but had grown into one of humanity's most important centers of innovation. The conference room doors slid open to reveal 5 representatives, seated around a circular table. Captain William Grant of the Earth Defense Force rose to greet her. "Director Powell," he said, extending his hand. "Thank you for hosting us." "Captain Grant," she replied. "I trust the new fleet exercises are proceeding well." "Better than expected. The Phantom-class vessels are exceeding specifications. Stealth capabilities are 98% effective against known Council scanning tech." Samantha took her seat at the head of the table. "Good. Let's begin." Dr. Peter Hayes, head of propulsion research, activated the central display. "We've successfully tested the 5th-generation gravitational drive. It's twice as efficient as anything the Council races possess, with half the energy signature." "Time to deployment?" Samantha asked. "We can begin retrofitting existing ships within 3 months. New construction will incorporate the technology immediately." From across the table, Laura Collins, Chief of Diplomatic Operations, leaned forward. "That timing works perfectly. My contacts among the Vaxeri indicate they're growing increasingly frustrated with Council trade restrictions. They're ready to establish formal relations." "The Vaxeri were expelled from the Council 30 years ago," noted Ryan Wilson, head of security. "How can we trust them?" "We can't, entirely," Laura admitted. "But they have resources we need, and they need our technology. Most importantly, they hate the Council more than they fear us." Samantha studied the star map now hovering above the table. Tiny lights indicated human outposts, research stations, and mining operations, all carefully hidden from Council observation. Beyond Sol system, secretive outposts extended human influence into nearby star systems. "What's the status of Project Nightfall?" she asked. Captain Grant touched the display, revealing schematics for massive shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt. "We've completed construction of the first 3 capital ships. The EDF Dauntless will be ready for its maiden voyage next month. And the Council remains unaware." Samantha pressed. Dr. Alice Johnson, head of counterintelligence, nodded confidently. "Our deep space sensor network detects any Council activity at the edges of our system. They maintain their patrol routes, but haven't attempted deep scans in over 2 years. They believe we're licking our wounds, not building an armada." "Good," Samantha said, rising from her seat to walk around the table. "For 10 years, we've lived in the shadow of our expulsion. We've been patient. We've been quiet. But the silent decade is coming to an end." She touched the display, expanding the map to show nearby star systems. The Council believed they were containing a dangerous species. Instead, they forced us to become exactly what they feared: stronger, more innovative, and completely independent of their control. Captain Grant's expression remained stoic, but his eyes revealed determination. "The Dauntless isn't just a ship, it's a statement. When we reveal ourselves again, the galaxy will see that humanity didn't just survive expulsion. We thrived." Samantha looked around at the faces of humanity's leaders, scientists, soldiers, and diplomats united by a common purpose. "The Council gave us a simple choice: fade away or forge our own path. They never imagined we'd choose to build something greater than they ever allowed us to be. The silent decade is ending. The age of the human commonwealth is about to begin. Captain George Bennett stood on the bridge of the EDF Dauntless, humanity's most advanced starship. His blue uniform was crisp, his posture perfect as he watched the stars through the massive forward viewport. The ship hummed with energy as it traveled through space using Earth's new drive technology. "Captain, we're detecting an unknown vessel at the edge of the Ta-Ceti system," reported Communications Officer Heather Mills. Her fingers moved quickly across her console. "Defensive status?" George asked calmly. "Shields at full capacity. Weapons systems ready but offline," answered First Officer Jason Edwards. George nodded. "Let's proceed with caution. This is exactly the kind of encounter we prepared for." The Dauntless slowed as it approached the mysterious ship. It was unlike any vessel they had seen before, sleek with organic curves, neither council design nor human. "They're hailing us, sir," Heather announced, sounding surprised. "On screen," George ordered. The view screen activated to show a humanoid figure with pale violet skin and large, expressive eyes. Delicate gill-like structures pulsed at the sides of its neck. "Greetings, vessel of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Thexela of the Vaxari Collective. We have been waiting for you." George maintained his composure despite his surprise. "This is Captain George Bennett of the Earth Defense Force vessel Dauntless. May I ask how you know we're from Earth?" Thexela made a gesture that might have been a smile. "We have watched your kind since your expulsion. The Council believes you isolated, but many eyes observe from the shadows." Lisa Harris, Earth's chief negotiator, stepped forward into view. "The Council expelled the Vaxari 30 years ago, correct? For similar reasons to our own banishment." "Similar, yet different," Thexela replied. "We developed biological technologies the Council could not control. You developed mechanical ones. The result was the same: fear of those who evolved too quickly." George and Lisa exchanged glances. This meeting was unexpected but potentially valuable. "With your permission, we would like to dock and discuss matters of mutual interest," Thexela continued. After security protocols were satisfied, the Vaxari delegation boarded the Dauntless. In the ship's conference room, Thexela revealed something unexpected: a star chart showing dozens of worlds marked in various colors. "The green markers represent species expelled from the Council," Thexela explained. "The blue are those who left voluntarily. The yellow show worlds chafing under Council restrictions." "There are more than I expected," Lisa admitted, studying the chart. "The Council presents itself as the unified voice of galactic civilization," Thexela said. "In truth, they represent only the interests of the 7 founding species. The rest serve or suffer." Frank Miller, Earth's defense strategist, studied the chart with narrow eyes. "You're suggesting an alliance." "I am suggesting a new path," Thexela corrected. "Not a counter-council, but a commonwealth of free worlds. Equal partners, shared technology, mutual defense." "And what would the Vaxari gain from this arrangement?" Lisa asked directly. Thexela's gill structures fluttered. "Security, resources, and the satisfaction of proving the Council wrong about us all." The discussion continued for hours. The Vaxari needed human engineering expertise. Humans needed the Vaxari's biological sciences and their knowledge of other potential allies. As the meeting concluded, Captain Bennett escorted Thexela back to the docking bay. "Your ship is impressive," the Vaxari noted. "The Council would be alarmed to see how far you've advanced." "Then we should be careful when and how they discover it," George replied. "Indeed." Thexela paused before boarding the Vaxari vessel. The Council expelled Earth believing they were removing a problem. Instead, they may have created their replacement. After the Vaxari departed, George returned to the bridge where Lisa and Frank were already discussing next steps. "Can we trust them?" George asked bluntly. Lisa considered. "Not completely, but we share common enemies and goals." That's enough to start with. Frank nodded in agreement. The Vaxari alone might not be significant, but this network they've revealed changes everything. We're not alone in opposing the Council. George looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth and its colonies, of all they had built in secret. Send a secure transmission to Director Powell, he ordered. Tell her we've made first contact with our first potential Commonwealth ally. Agent Sean Kelly pressed his back against the cold metal wall, his breath barely visible in the dim light of the space station corridor. The Council Security Patrol passed just meters away, their scaled feet making soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. Once they turned the corner, Sean moved quickly toward the maintenance shaft. Eagle in position, he whispered into his comm unit. Proceeding to objective. 5 years had passed since the formation of the Commonwealth Alliance between Earth and the Vaxari. What began as a cautious partnership had grown to include 15 worlds, all operating beyond Council control. This growth hadn't gone unnoticed. Sean slipped through the maintenance shaft until he reached a small observation room overlooking the station's main docking bay. Below, a sleek Council vessel was being prepared for departure. His enhanced vision implant, hidden behind apparently normal brown eyes, zoomed in on the ship's cargo loading. "Falcon, do you copy?" he asked quietly. "Loud and clear, Eagle," replied Agent Maya Rodriguez from her position in the station's control center. "What do you see?" 6 Council operatives, heavily armed. They're loading what appears to be stealth torpedoes. Sean adjusted his vision implant. "Wait. I'm seeing something else. Biochemical containers, marked with Barillic script." "Barillic? You're sure?" Mia's voice sharpened with concern. "Positive. Cross-reference with the intelligence report from last month." A moment of silence followed as Mia accessed their secure database. "Confirmed. This matches the assassination protocol the Council used on Tellerus Prime. The target must be the Commonwealth Diplomatic Summit on Vaxari homeworld." Sean's jaw tightened. The summit would bring together representatives from all Commonwealth worlds, including potential new allies. If the Council succeeded, the alliance could crumble before it truly began. "New plan," he decided. "I'm going to plant trackers and then sabotage their weapon systems." "Too risky," Mia objected. "Your extraction window is in 10 minutes. "No choice. We can't let them reach Vaxari." Without waiting for approval, Sean moved through the ventilation system until he was directly above the Council ship. Using tools hidden in his seemingly ordinary jacket, he carefully removed a panel and dropped silently into the vessel's cargo hold. The interior was dimly lit with blue emergency lighting. Sean placed quantum trackers on the weapon containers, then made his way to the engine room. Council technology was advanced, but Sean had trained specifically for this type of infiltration. He was rewiring the weapon's targeting system when a door slid open behind him. Sean spun around, hand moving to his concealed weapon, but froze when he saw a Council security officer pointing a pulse rifle directly at his chest. "Human," the officer hissed, compound eyes widening in surprise. "What are you doing this far from Earth territory?" Sean's mind raced through options. The mission was compromised, but the information had to reach the Commonwealth. He slowly raised his hands. "Just a salvage technician," he lied smoothly. "Station control sent me to check anomalous readings." The officer's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "Communications, security breach in engine section." He began to report into his comm unit. Sean moved with practiced precision, throwing a small device that burst into blinding light. The officer fired wildly as Sean rolled beneath the shots, coming up with his own weapon drawn. One quick pulse, and the officer collapsed. "Falcon, I've been compromised," Sean reported, moving quickly back toward the maintenance shaft. "Tracker is planted but sabotage incomplete. We need to warn the Commonwealth fleet immediately." Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Sean climbed into the ventilation system as security forces converged on the docking bay. Admiral Diane Rodriguez received the emergency transmission while aboard the Commonwealth flagship Guardian. Her face remained calm as she processed the intelligence, but her eyes hardened with resolve. "So the Council has finally shown their true intentions," she said to her officers. "They speak of peace while planning assassination." "Your orders, Admiral?" asked her second-in-command. Diane studied the tactical display showing Commonwealth space. The summit was 2 days away. The Council assassins would reach it in less than one. "Alert all Commonwealth vessels. Deploy the Third Fleet to intercept that Council ship." Her voice was steady, but carried unmistakable authority. "And prepare a statement for all member worlds. The Shadow War has begun." 20 years after Earth's expulsion from the Galactic Council, the Commonwealth of Free Worlds had grown to 37 member planets. What began as a desperate alliance had transformed into the galaxy's most dynamic economic power. On the observation deck of Commonwealth Central Station, Patricia Alvarez watched ships from a dozen worlds dock and depart in a carefully orchestrated dance. "The quarterly reports are ready for your review," said her assistant, offering a data tablet. Patricia nodded, taking the device. As Chief Economic Coordinator for the Commonwealth, she had designed the trade system that bound these diverse worlds together. The numbers on the screen confirmed what she already knew. Commonwealth growth had exceeded projections for the 8th consecutive quarter. "And how are the Council markets responding?" she asked. Her assistant's expression was satisfied. "Poorly. 3 more Council-aligned worlds have requested trade exemptions. Their economies can't compete under the old restrictions." Patricia wasn't surprised. The Council's economic model had worked when they controlled all significant trade routes and technologies. The Commonwealth had changed everything by creating alternatives. "Director Powell is waiting for you in the conference room," her assistant added. Samantha Powell, now in her 70s but still sharp as ever, stood at the head of the conference table. 20 years as Director of Commonwealth Operations had etched lines on her face, but hadn't diminished her intensity. "Patricia," she greeted warmly, "your trade networks are working better than we ever imagined." The principle was simple. Patricia replied, taking a seat. "Make every world essential to at least 3 others. Create interdependence without vulnerability." The conference room's large display showed a map of known space. Blue indicated Commonwealth territories and trade routes, while red showed Council control. The blue had been steadily expanding, with green transition zones appearing at the borders. "We've received an urgent communication from Nebulon," Samantha said, gesturing to a planet blinking on the display. "They're facing total crop failure due to drought. Over 8 billion lives at risk." Patricia studied the planet's location. Nebulon is deep in Council space, a founding member world, if I recall correctly. "Correct. And the Council has denied their request for emergency aid." Samantha's voice carried controlled anger. "Apparently, their resources are committed to military operations against our border outposts." 8 billion people, Patricia murmured. "What are they proposing?" "Nothing. The Council expects Nebulon to handle it internally." Samantha looked directly at Patricia. "I've already ordered our relief ships prepared. The question is, do we have enough supplies to make a difference?" Patricia didn't need to check her data. "We can divert agricultural shipments from Vaxari and Nuterra. Our food reserves can handle it." She paused. "But entering Council space with a fleet, even a humanitarian one, would be seen as an act of war," Samantha finished. "Yes, unless we had Nebulon's formal invitation." Understanding dawned on Patricia's face, which would force the Council to either allow us in or publicly abandon one of their founding worlds. Exactly. 3 weeks later, a fleet of Commonwealth ships appeared at Nebulon's orbital stations. The massive vessels carried enough food and medical supplies to save millions. On the bridge of the lead ship, Patricia stood beside Captain Daniel Morris as they approached. "We're being hailed," the communications officer announced. "It's the Nebulon Planetary Council." The view screen activated to show a group of Nebulonians, tall, slender beings with silver skin. Their spokesperson stepped forward. "Commonwealth vessels, we welcome your aid with gratitude," she said formally. "By necessity, Nebulon hereby grants you full access to our ports and distribution systems." Daniel nodded respectfully. We come as friends with no conditions attached. That, the Nebulonian hesitated, is not entirely accurate, Captain. Your Director Powell has already shared your terms. Patricia stepped forward. Not terms. An opportunity. In exchange for our assistance, we ask only that Nebulon consider the Prosperity Accords, a framework for neutral trade zones between Commonwealth and Council space. The Nebulonian's eyes flickered with something like hope. The Council will not be pleased. The Council left your people to starve. Patricia replied simply. We did not. Within days, Commonwealth aid was flowing to Nebulon's suffering population. Within weeks, 5 other Council worlds had secretly requested details about the Prosperity Accords. The economic balance of power had shifted again, not through weapons, but through wheat and compassion. In her private quarters, Patricia updated the trade projections with new data. The Council's economic model was collapsing faster than anyone had predicted. Soon, they would have no choice but to recognize the Commonwealth as an equal power. They cast us out, she whispered to herself, never imagining we would build something better. Dr. Alan Murphy wiped dust from the strange symbols carved into the ancient stone wall. For 3 weeks, his team had explored these ruins on the distant world of Helios VI. What they found was rewriting galactic history. Dr. Murphy, you should see this, called his assistant, Emma Wilson. Her voice echoed through the underground chamber. Ellen walked carefully across the room, where new holographic lights revealed a massive mural. The images showed tall, graceful beings teaching technology to younger species. Among the students, Alan recognized the distinctive features of the Archons and Silurians, 2 of the Council's oldest founding races. This can't be right, Alan whispered, adjusting his glasses. According to Council history, the founding species developed all their technology independently. Emma pointed to symbols along the bottom of the mural. We've translated portions of their language. This section says, the great teachers shared knowledge freely with all who sought wisdom. Alan studied the images with growing excitement and unease. These great teachers, they're showing the founding races how to build starships, terraform planets, harness energy. There's more, Emma said, leading him deeper into the chamber. In the next room, a different mural showed a darker scene. The student species were now attacking their teachers. Planets burned. Ships fell from the skies. This section translates as, the betrayal, Emma said quietly. And this part mentions, the great erasure. Alan's hands trembled slightly as he documented the images. The Council founding species didn't evolve their technology. They were given it by these beings, and then they turned on their teachers. But why? Emma asked. Alan pointed to another section of wall. This suggests the teachers refused to share weapons technology. They were peaceful explorers who believed in knowledge for advancement, not destruction. So the students took what they wanted and eliminated the evidence, Emma concluded. Alan nodded slowly, and then rewrote history to make themselves the original advanced civilization of the galaxy. Back on Commonwealth Central Station, Nicole Bennett, Chief of Intelligence Operations, reviewed Dr. Murphy's findings with growing interest. Her office was deliberately plain. No decorations, just practical displays and secure communication equipment. You're certain of these translations? She asked, her piercing gaze fixed on Dr. Murphy. We've cross-referenced with 12 different linguistic databases, Alan confirmed, and found similar evidence on 3 other worlds. This isn't an isolated myth. It's consistent historical record that someone tried to erase. Nicole turned to her deputy, Jack Reyes. Verification status. Our deep cover agents have confirmed access to restricted archives on 2 Council homeworlds, Jack reported. They found sealed records referring to species called the Luminari that matched the physical description of these great teachers. The records were buried under the highest security classifications. Nicole's expression remained neutral, but her mind raced through implications and opportunities. The Council's moral authority rests on their claim as the galaxy's original advanced civilization. Their right to judge other species comes from their supposed evolutionary superiority. This evidence destroys that narrative completely, Allen said. They're not founders. They're thieves and murderers who stole technology and erased an entire civilization from history. Nicole made her decision. Prepare a complete report for Director Powell and assemble the evidence into a format that can be transmitted to every world in Council space simultaneously. You're planning to make this public? Allen asked, surprised. The Commonwealth has been fighting the Council on multiple fronts for years, Nicole explained. But this is different. This isn't about trade disputes or territory. This is about the fundamental lie at the heart of Council authority. 3 weeks later, the transmission went out. Using comm channels the Council didn't know existed, the Commonwealth broadcast the evidence to every world under Council influence. The images were clear, the translations verified, the conclusion unavoidable. The Council's founding species had built their civilization on theft and genocide. The reaction was immediate. On Nebulon, already aligned with the Commonwealth through the Prosperity Accords, citizens surrounded Council buildings in peaceful protest. On Sealer Prime, homeworld of one of the founding species, younger Xilarians demanded answers from their elders. Most significantly, 7 Council member worlds formally requested admission to the Commonwealth within days of the revelation. Their ambassadors arrived at Commonwealth Central Station, not as supplicants, but as equals seeking a more honest alliance. In her secure office, Nicole watched the galactic news feeds with satisfaction. The Council is fragmenting, she told Director Powell over a secure channel. Their oldest members are accusing each other of knowing more about the cover-up. 3 worlds have already recalled their Council representatives. And so falls an empire built on lies, Samantha Powell replied. Not through war, but through truth. 50 years had passed since Earth's expulsion from the Galactic Council. What began as a punishment had transformed into humanity's greatest opportunity. The Commonwealth now included over 100 worlds, with Earth at its center not through conquest, but through leadership. Prime Minister Karen Foster stood at the window of her office in New Geneva, Earth's capital city. Beyond the transparent dome, she could see ships arriving from dozens of worlds for today's historic event. The delegates are assembled in the Grand Chamber, announced her aide, Craig Bennett. Karen nodded, straightening her formal blue jacket. At 62, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had helped build an interstellar alliance from nothing. And our special guests, she asked, arrived under diplomatic escort. They're waiting in the antechamber. Karen took a deep breath. Then it's time. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Congress stretched before her as she entered. A vast circular room with rising tiers of seats. Representatives from Commonwealth worlds filled most sections, a tapestry of different species united by common purpose. But today, 5 seats near the front held figures that hadn't been seen on Earth in half a century, Council Elder representatives. Admiral Ryan Cooper, commander of the Commonwealth Fleet, stood at attention as Karen approached. His uniform bore the simple insignia of Earth, but his authority extended across the largest peacekeeping force in known space. Prime Minister, he greeted her formally. All security protocols are in place. Thank you, Admiral, she replied quietly. Though I don't believe they're necessary today. Ryan's expression remained professional, but his eyes showed skepticism. Old habits, Prime Minister. Karen took her position at the central podium. The chamber quieted immediately. Representatives of the Commonwealth, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the space. Today marks 50 years since Earth was cast out from the Galactic Council. What was intended as our end became our beginning. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. We built this alliance not on dominance but on mutual respect. Not on control but on cooperation. The Commonwealth now encompasses 107 worlds, with 15 more having submitted applications to join. She paused, looking toward the Council representatives, including, remarkably, 3 founding worlds of the Galactic Council itself. The Council elders shifted uncomfortably, They were a diminished group now, their once mighty alliance reduced to 28 loyal worlds after the Great Revelation exposed their historical lies. Today, we welcome representatives from the remaining council to discuss not their surrender, but reconciliation. Karen gestured, and the council delegation rose. Their leader, Elder Vesh, one of the few who had been present at Earth's expulsion 5 decades earlier, approached the secondary podium. The wheel of time turns in unexpected ways. Elder Vesh began, her voice showing signs of age. 50 years ago, we believed we were protecting galactic stability by removing Earth from our midst. We were wrong. A surprised murmur swept through the chamber. The Commonwealth has proven that diversity breeds strength, that cooperation surpasses control. That truth, however difficult, is superior to comfortable lies. Elder Vesh looked directly at Karen. We come not to ask forgiveness, but to request dialogue. The old council is dying. Whatever rises in its place should learn from your success. Karen nodded respectfully. The Commonwealth accepts your request for dialogue, not as former masters, but as equals at the table of galactic civilization. The formal proceedings continued, but Karen's mind drifted to the long journey. From the shock of expulsion to the silent decade of preparation. From first contact with the Vaxari to the Shadow War. From the Prosperity Accords to the Great Revelation. Each step had been necessary to reach this moment. Later, in a private meeting room, Karen sat across from Elder Vesh with only Admiral Cooper present. Your civilization has matured remarkably, Vesh admitted. When we expelled Earth, we feared your species would become conquerors if given freedom among the stars. And instead, Karen asked, instead, you became something we never managed to be. True leaders, beings who raise others up rather than maintain control through fear and restriction. Karen smiled slightly. The irony is that by expelling us, you forced us to become better than we might have been under your guidance. A painful lesson for the Council, Vesh acknowledged, but perhaps a necessary one for the galaxy. As they discussed terms for the new relationship between Commonwealth and Council worlds, Admiral Cooper watched with cautious optimism. The galaxy was entering a new era, one where humanity's unpredictable nature had created not the empire of conquest the Council feared, but a more just and equitable community than any that came before. We didn't build an empire, Karen thought to herself as the meeting progressed. We built a home for everyone the Council rejected, including, eventually, themselves.